Davis.
Here.
Mr. Manella.
Here.
Mr. Drum. Here. And Mr. Randolph is not here. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Please turn off phones and pagers or put them on vibrate. If you disagree with the ruling of this commission, you have the right to appeal. The appeal cards are on the railing to my right, as well as speaker cards. We like to have a record of everyone who speaks at the organization's meeting. That way, if there's anything that happens to come up and we need to notify you, we can. Public speaking, 10 minutes each side with a 5-minute rebuttal. And if you have a group of folks here and you want to discuss, please exit the building. Don't go out in the foyer because the sound still comes back in the building here. Please rise for the invocation by Ms. Casabon. Mr. Hines, please.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have two sets of minutes to approve. One is the January 14th minutes, which don't think was in the packet, but it was furnished at your desk, I think. So we need to review it real quick, and I'll accept a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve.
Who made the motion? Jimmy made the motion. Pug, I think, seconded the motion. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. Approval of the February 11th meeting was in the packet. Hopefully everyone reviewed those. I'll accept a motion to approve. Moved by Mr. Hines, seconded by Mr. Willie. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. Consent calendar, any item not pulled from the consent calendar automatically dispensed by vote as approved and/or as per staff comments. Items pulled from the consent calendar shall be discussed and voted upon individually. And first item is entering the parish rights of way.
I'd like to pull that.
You'd like to pull that, Mr. Willie?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Matthews. Please vote on pulling it. Motion. Ryan's got the computer messed up. Motion carries. Thank you. Staff?
Yes, item number 10 needs to be changed from fiber optic cables to sewer and water lines.
All right. Let me see which one you're.
It's item 10. Please just.
There you go.
Sometimes it'll report.
Next page.
Okay, the petitioner submitted an as-built drawing certifying that fiber optic cables are constructed in accordance with the approved drawing. So this is to be changed to sewer and water?
Right,
Yes,
that's
sir.
what it's for. It's a fire district is putting in with sewer and water lines. That just happens to be
It's a
wrong.
Okay, all right. All right, any further discussion?
No.
I'll accept a motion to approve.
Move as
I
amended.
have a question.
Okay,
Reading, I just don't understand what they're doing. It's a motion that has to do with putting a water line in for the fire department. What's the fiber optic cable for?
It was a
The typo.
typo.
Well,
That's
it's a,
what they changed.
Okay, you're taking that out.
Taking it
okay.
out, not in addition to.
Okay, it's not in the,
right.
okay, Bernie?
Move as amended.
Okay, motion by Bernie, seconded by Mr. Davis. Please vote. Motion carries, thank you. That ends the consent calendar. There's no minor subdivisions. Petition request, entering the Tammany Trace, revocation closings, re-subdivision, dormant subdivision, tentative subdivision, and preliminary, and tentative subdivision. There's nothing there. So the next item is the preliminary subdivision review. First item is SD 1401-002P, Rule Court, Ward 1, District 1, developer owner Denham Investments LLC. The engineer is Kyle and Associates LLC. Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable Marty Dean. Staff?
The preliminary plans and hydrologic study have been reviewed by this office, and an inspection was made of the site. It is recommended that preliminary submittal be approved subject to the following: remove 60-foot right-of-way, or 60-foot private right-of-way. Add the following note to the signage drawing sheet number 5. All signage shall conform to all MUTCD and parish requirements. A copy of parish requirements can be obtained from the St. Tammany Parish Traffic Engineer. Show typical cross-section and capacity calculations for ditch within 5-foot servitude. Revise H&H study shape factor to 284. Revise H&H study to calculate pond as dry versus wet. The initial water elevation should be at 19 feet. Initial water depth should be at 0.53 feet. Side slope of pond should be accounted for in the area of pond. It's roughly 17,550 feet. Show maximum water surface elevation for a 100-year event. A funded maintenance obligation in the amount of $10,000 is required in accordance with Subdivision Ordinance 499, Section 40.061.08. Funded letters of credit for existing parish roads to ensure the repair of any damage to the parish roads resulting from construction activity in connection with the subdivision. Mandatory developmental fees will be required at final submittal in accordance with Ordinance number 499, since no public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005.
Show the gate valve in front of the fire hydrant on sheet 4. Provide DES with 3 copies of sewer and water plans and 3 copies of the DHH permit application. Provide Tammany Utilities with 1 copy of the sewer and water plans and 1 copy of the DHH permit application. Sewer capacity is currently not available to serve this subdivision. Coordinate with Tammany Utilities to resolve this issue.
Department of Development has 1 informational item. Parish Code requires a land clearing permit be applied for and obtained through the Department of Development prior to the developer receiving a work order in conjunction with the preliminary subdivision review process.
Thank you. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? I'll close the floor to the public, bring it back to the commission. Any of the commissioners have a comment, question?
The engineer is here if anyone does.
If he wants to speak, he's certainly welcome to. I do have a question on the sewer capacity.
I do too.
What happens on this now? I mean, it just, no permits are issued until they get straight on the, who's
Yeah.
gonna handle the sewer?
Yeah, they're gonna have to, I'm assuming DHH is probably gonna want them to have capacity before they're gonna issue their permit, and that has to be issued before we'll sign off on a work order. So they're gonna have to resolve the capacity issues and figure out how they're gonna do that before they can get a work order.
Okay. The engineer, I believe, is in the audience.
Yeah, I'm here, just here for questions you to be asked.
Okay, come to the mic, please, and state your name.
Good evening, I'm Eddie Powell with Kyle Associates. As far as
Where do we stand on this?
on the sewer capacity, as it stands right now, we're waiting for a cost of service from Tammany Utilities for the developer to pay what is necessary to upgrade the system. We're short about 5,000 gallons per day of capacity for the existing treatment plant. So, you know, we're waiting on those costs, and then we're gonna negotiate that with Tammany Utilities to get that taken care of.
Okay.
So we have all intentions
Y'all
of just.
understand that we're not gonna,
Oh, absolutely.
can't move forward until you have that.
Right, we understand that, you know, that the work order, you know, cannot be issued until this is resolved, absolutely. Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank
As
you.
well as the other minor items, so.
All right.
So.
Bug?
I have a question. Is, and I don't know if you're the right one or you're the developer, right? maybe you're the one that needs to answer it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a separate development that will be accessed through a development.
Yes.
Okay. And one of the things that the existing development said that they were in support of what you were proposing, and we voted for it, was that these new lots would be subject to the same restrictions that they were restricted to.
We've addressed that in previous meetings, and we have signed documents.
Okay. I was looking at the restrictive covenants, and I just wanted to make sure that those restrictive covenants matched up with theirs, is what I'm saying.
That is what we signed in agreement prior to the zoning approval of this
Okay, it has been signed.
subdivision, and then when the tentative was granted, that just reinforced it, yes.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah, please state your name, for the record.
Philip Mayu, Denham Investments LLC.
Okay, thank you, Philip. All right, any other commissioners have anything? I'll close, let's see, did close, Martha?
I'll make a motion to approve, subject to all staff comments. No work order issued till the storage capacity is worked out.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Casabon, seconded by Pug. Is that correct? Okay, please vote. Motion carries, thank you. Final subdivision review, SD 01-06-009F3A, Grand Maison, Phase 3A, Ward 54, District 5. The developer owner is Grand Maison Development LLC. The engineer is Kelly McHugh and Associates. Parish Council, District Representatives, Honorable Marty Dean. Staff?
Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction, and the final inspection was made on February 26, 2014. The inspection disclosed that all concrete roads are constructed, road shoulders need to be constructed, and the roadside ditches are holding water and need to have final grading. The following uncompleted items existed at the time of final inspection. Roadside ditches need final grading, road shoulders need to be constructed, need cul-de-sac typical plan and cross-section showing type of curbing, construct curbing at cul-de-sac, need base test results, need concrete test results, need floppy disk or latest format for as-built and plat, need developer signature on plat, need traffic signs and street name signs, need blue reflectors, need as-built signage plan with the following notes. All signage shall be type 3 high-intensity retro reflective in accordance with the MUTCD guidelines. All signage shall conform to all MUTCD and parish requirements. A copy of parish requirements can be obtained from St. Tammany Parish Traffic Engineer. Street name signs must be yellow lettering on blue background. Lots number 157, 214, 236, and 196 cannot be part of this phase since the side streets have not been constructed for the full length of these lots. Revise the as-built drawings to show the actual length of the side street pavement in place. Cross culverts need to be cleaned out so they are functioning as designed. Remove future phase from vicinity map. Remove minimum restrictive covenants from as-built drawings. And then we also going to have a verbal addition for St. Tammany Parish to maintain the drainage servitude between lots number 154 and 155. A 10-foot servitude is required on each lot. Should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of $48,100 for a period of 5 years. The staff recommends approval of the proposed final subdivision request subject to the developer complying with all comments, and no plats shall be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. No mandatory developmental fees are required since a public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005.
A negative bacteriological report relative to the construction of the project's water system has not been issued. by the Department of Health and Hospitals as required by Section 40070 of the Subdivision Regulatory Ordinance 499, a letter of acceptance and responsibility for the perpetual maintenance and operation of the water and sewer system has not been issued by the utility provider as required. Staff recommends approval of the proposed final subdivision request, subject to the developer complying with all comments, and no plats are to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Morone.
Thank you, Mr. Doherty. Paul Marone on behalf of Grand Maison Development, LLC. I'd like to touch on some of the punch list items that staff just noted and give you an update as to where we are with those items. First of all, with regards to the roadside ditches, which need to be final graded, that is done and completed. The roadside shoulders that need to be constructed, we are about 50% completed with that as of noon today. We had hoped to have that completed by the time I got here, but obviously with the weather today, it prohibited us from finishing those, but that will be done as soon as the weather clears, which we hope to be in the next few days. We'll be able to get in there once it's dry and finish that item. Item D, the construction of the curbing at the cul-de-sac is not yet completed. In talking with the engineer and the developer today, that too is delayed because of the weather, but is a very short item as far as lead time, and we hope to be able to finish that by next week, assuming we get adequate weather. The base test results and the concrete test results are finished and have been submitted. The items with regards to the floppy disk, the developer's signature and so forth, the developer is prepared to sign the plats once these final additions and corrections are made. The engineer is making those revisions now, and we hope to have that submitted here within the next 24 to 48 hours. In regards to item 11, removing lots 157, 214, 236, and 196, there's no objection to that, and that is one of the additions that the survey and the engineer is making to comply with that request. The cross culverts, item N, we believe that has been completed. However, with the weather today, there may require some additional flushing. Our engineer will be going out tomorrow, but we believe that's completed. If there is any siltation that has occurred, we'll be cleaning that up as well. But we believe it's complete, absent some new problems that resulted from today's weather. The 10-foot servitude that was mentioned that is needed between or on lots 154 and 155, to the extent that the developer intends to have the parish maintain that, we would have no objection to complying and providing them with the servitude they need to do that. So I'll confirm that with the developer, and we'll add that servitude to the plat as requested. The Department of Environmental Services comments, the bacteriological report is scheduled for tomorrow. As far as the letter of acceptance, all reports and information has been provided to the utility provider with the exception of that clear report. That is the last item remaining. So as soon as that is done tomorrow, we will be able to get that to the provider, who can then provide the letter to the parish. With that being said, other than a few minor construction items like completing the road shoulders and making sure the culverts are clear and the constructing around the curb at the cul-de-sac, everything else is relatively minor. Those are items that will be taken care of by the engineer and the developer, more paperwork than anything else. We believe we can have all of the items, weather permitting, completed and into your staff's office by probably the middle of next week, end of next week at the latest, assuming it stops raining at some point. With that said, we would respectfully request approval subject to all of the staff's comments and our satisfactory completion of each of those before the plats are signed.
Thank you, Mr. Morone. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak for this approval? Anyone wish to speak against this approval? I'll close the floor to the public, bring it back to the commission. Mr. Davis.
Yeah, Paul, so the item number 11 about those 4 lots, so Chateau Papillon is just going to be extended a little bit further, so they will go past these lots, and then they're going to be part of the actual subdivision?
Ultimately, yes. They'll be included in the next phase when that roadway is extended out.
Okay, so they may be called Phase 3B?
Correct.
So it'll actually be called a different phase and? Okay.
That's correct.
Okay,
That's
thank you.
correct.
Pug?
Yeah, Paul, I have one question. The final plan that we've got shows a minimum restrictive covenants, and number 11 says the maintenance of the green space shall be the responsible of the Grand Maison Homeowners Association. Since these are the minimum restrictive covenants, and having served as president of a homeowners association where you're trying to collect the money to fulfill that kind of obligation, will the complete restrictive covenants require membership in the homeowners association for the people that buy lots?
Yes, yes. There's a master set of restrictions that are far more detailed and would be what you would typically expect to see. Those are in place. This phase is being brought in under those, so these lots and those that buy these lots will be subject to all of those terms and conditions as well, one of which is that there's a mandatory obligation to be part of the association and pay those dues.
That's all I need. Thank you.
Any further discussion? I'll accept a motion to approve. Mr. Davis, motion to approve, seconded by Mr. Randolph. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, there's no proposed amendments, no old business that I'm aware of. Any commissioners have any old business? Any new business? I'll take a motion to adjourn. Thank you. Hey, Paul.